You know, camera companies don't really care if we get better at photography, because all they care about is that we upgrade. You know what it's like, every year there's a new camera body that promises a higher megapixel count or better dynamic range. And do you know what? We fall for it. But there's one thing the camera companies don't sell, and it's one of the most important things when it comes to photography, and that's good light. And in this video, we're going to learn what good light is and how to use it. Over the past 5 years, I've taken tens of thousands of photographs, and during that time I fell into the trap of buying a new lens because it was sharper, it had a greater depth of field, it was a faster aperture so I could shoot in low light. And none of that, including all the filters and all the accessories that I bought, made me a better photographer. What did make me better was going out and taking those tens of thousands of photographs, because I went out in all types of weather, I went out in all types of light, and I learned what made an image good. And in my opinion, there are two key fundamentals to a good photograph, and that is the light, and that is your composition. And as I've said, in this video, we're going to look at light. Okay, so let's look at the types of light. First one we'll talk about is harsh midday light, when the sun's high in the sky and the shadows are very, very contrasty and very dark. It can be quite an unflattering light, and if you're doing landscape photography, then it is difficult to get a nice pleasing image with that. What you're better off with on a day like that is when there are some clouds about and you get the sun raking through at different times. But overall, it's still possible to go out and get good shots. What I like to do on really sunny days is to shoot black and white, because again, it draws out the contrast in the image, and if you can use shadows and silhouettes, then it becomes a stunning image to look at. And it does work in colour too.
As you can see in these images here, texture becomes the dominant feature of the photograph. Whether you're shooting in colour or in black and white, start to use light to create longer shadows, brighter areas, and if you couple that with a creative edit, you can really get some stunning results. You can even use it with wildlife, and on those especially bright days, it brings things to life.
The next type of light we're going to look at is golden hour, or approaching golden hour. It's about 2 hours till the sun goes down just now, and you can see that the sun is starting to come in from an angle. It's casting longer, softer shadows, and for landscape photographers, that's just a real bonus for us. So when you're going out with your camera, if that's the style of photographs that you like to take, try going out in golden hour. I've done a full video on that, and you can find that somewhere on my channel, or I'll maybe even put a link to it at the end of this one. Personally speaking, golden hour is my favourite time to shoot. Everything just looks more pleasing, and if you get a nice still night, then it's just fantastic.
One of the great things about golden hour is, if you're lucky, the sky starts to mimic your subject. But not only that, if you're fairly new to using light, golden hour and even blue hour are the times of day where it makes it much easier to capture a mesmerising image. Nature does most of the work for you, and then all you have to do is tease it out once you get home. And as I've said before, most of my favourite shots happen during golden hour.
Next we have blue hour, and as the name suggests, everything tends to have a blue or a violet sort of tone to it as the sun goes down beyond the horizon, and the clouds at that point can start to go on fire. And some of my best shots, which I'll put up on the screen for you, were taken during blue hour. So again, when the sun's no longer there, you might think that there's no light left, but trust me, it's really worthwhile venturing out either before the sun comes up or just after it goes down, and hang about for a while and see what happens, because I promise you, you will be surprised. So the last light we'll look at is overcast skies and grey days. Now these are the ones I find the hardest to get motivated to pick up my gear and go out, because I think I'm not going to get any award-winning shots. But what I find when I make the effort to go out is that the clouds act like a giant softbox, and the light becomes very even. It wraps around the subjects. There's not any high contrasty shadows, so you can get some flattering portraits in weather like that. You can get some really moody, misty shots. And if you couple it with going out when there's some rain, you can find that the wet leaves bring out some vibrancy, even though the rest of the day seems sullen and dark.
Now, as I say, this can be my least favourite time to go out. But I'm sure you'll agree, at looking some of these images, there are some stunning pieces of work that you can capture, and they almost have a painterly feel to them. They're far more delicate, there's softer tones, some of the harshness of the textures disappears, and it's a much more relaxing thing to look at. And don't let the rain stop you from going out either. This is one of my favourite images, and again I love the raindrops on the water just in front of the boathouse. So be brave, be curious and be experimental. Try all different types of weather and all different types of light, and then you'll find the one you like the best.
So let's just recap on all we've talked so far. The 4 different types of light that we're looking at is direct midday sun, golden hour, blue hour and overcast skies. And each of them plays their part for bringing out a different emotion in your photographs. So let's take it a step further. It's not just important what type of light you've got, it's what you do with it. If you can use angles and positioning to sculpt the light, then you get a far more interesting shot. So for example, at the moment the sun is right behind the camera and it's lighting me right from the front, which is never really ideal, especially if you're looking at portrait work. But if you get creative with light and you start moving it about, maybe turn your camera 45 degrees and have the sun coming in from the side or the light coming in from the side, what it starts to do is cast longer, softer shadows. It brings out details and textures in objects. So if you're shooting landscape photographs, then get creative with side light. So another thing to think about is maybe putting the sun at your back so that the subject is backlit. And on strong sunny days, especially in golden hours, it creates a nice rim light around your subject, if it's an animal, a person. But even if you're trying to take a photograph of a landscape subject, if you can get the sun behind it, not only do you run the chance of maybe getting some sun stars if it's a clear night, but you get a much more dramatic look at it, very, very moody. And in some instances, if done right, you can turn your subject into a silhouette, and I love a good silhouette.
This set of photographs has to be my favourite in the whole video. Silhouettes to me just simplify an image, and the layers that you can start to see are just incredible. But no matter what type of image you take at this time of night, that warm glow just makes everything look magical. And in this image here, although the sun isn't fully down, because I'm using that backlit approach that we talked about earlier, I've got silhouettes, I've got character, and there's a real story in that image. So make sure you grab your camera, set your alarm for early morning or stay up late at night, but get out in golden hour and make sure you stay on until blue hour.
So something I alluded to earlier in the video was, don't be scared to go out in bad weather. Some of the best shots ever taken were taken either before, during or after a storm. And as a landscape photographer, that's just the light that is the best of all. When you've got dark, broody clouds and then all of a sudden there's a little space and the sunlight shines through and lights up that lone tree. If you're lucky enough to get all of those things to happen, then it's just absolutely worthwhile going out and getting your gear wet, getting yourself wet. But see, when you're sitting back with a coffee and you're editing your photographs, it's just the best feeling in the world. So in a nutshell, that's light. And I'm hoping you're understanding why it's so important, because it can take a normal scene and just make it look spectacular. And remember, the best photographers in the world don't chase locations, they chase light. They go at the right time of day, they go in the right weather conditions, and that is what sets their photographs apart from other photographs. So give it a try and see how you go on with it. And if this video has been of any use to you at all, please consider giving me the thumbs up or hitting that subscribe button and come along for the next video, because we'll be looking at a lot of different things over the next couple of weeks to bring your photography up to speed. Thanks for watching as always, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.